Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 537 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for Sunday, September 8th, 2019. The show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Apple's trying to dodge bugs, Nintendo's embracing their past, and Facebook's giving out your number. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, on any of the podcatchers, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app in the Windows Store, the variety of others like Spotify or TuneIn, on any of our live stream platforms, livestream.com, Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitch, and Mixer, or of course on our website, PLUGHITZlive.com. Thank you for making us a part of your day. There are two ways that you can do that. The first is Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can go to f5live.tv/join us, and there you can chat with us in the studio as the show goes on. We always appreciate hearing your input on the topics as we talk about them, and that'll be your easiest way to do it. If you can't join us live, that is okay. PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe will show you all of our shows, including F5 Live and the Piltch Point, which are this evening. PLUGHITZ Live Presents, First Looks, and a whole lot more are all there with all the different ways that you can subscribe. I think that's the spiel, Avram. We've been off for 2 weeks because it looked like I was going to get hit by a hurricane last week. It didn't happen. So how have you been?
Oh, all right. It's been an interesting couple of weeks for sure. But a lot of neat stuff coming into the office, which will show something later. So it's always a fun time when we have new toys coming in.
Yes, indeed. I've got some that I just got two that I can't wait to mess around with. And have I got reviews I have to write. Oh my goodness. For our regular viewers who have been watching this microphone in front of me, I still haven't written the review on it. So, eek. A reminder for our viewers and listeners, Roboticon is in just over a month, which I'm very excited about. It is one of my absolute favorite events of the year, and this year I get to host the event. So that'll be a lot of fun. People will get to see me on camera on the live stream, which will be a tremendous amount of fun. I won't just be up in the control room, so I'm excited about that. And we're doing our first ever alumni event. So if you are coming to a Roboticon and are an alumni, sign up for the mixer. It's on Eventbrite. It'll be a whole lot of fun. It's a game night, board games and video games. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to it. We're doing some big stuff this year. It's gonna be really great. I'm excited. I'm more excited and less nervous than normal at this point for Roboticon. So I think that's a good sign. The next month is going to be a lot of fun, and there's some new stuff coming to PLUGHITZ Live in the very near future too, which Avram may or may not have seen the post on Facebook. It should be pretty exciting. I can't talk too much about it, but it'll be a lot of fun, and hopefully it'll be in place by Roboticon. So, woohoo! Anyway, I know that was a lot of weirdness, and I apologize to everybody listening. But how about we get down to some news? This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Whether you're looking for a new laptop, a tablet, a phone, an Xbox One, either S or X, or a variety of other products, VR and AR headsets, and all kinds of stuff, you can find all of it at the Microsoft Store, including saving up to $300 on the Surface Laptop 2, or also on the Surface Pro 6, and a lot of other deals as well. And you can find all of those by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, we've talked a number of times on the show about Google's Project Zero, which is a security firm inside the company that looks for security vulnerabilities in products, both internal and external. At one point, we had a discussion a number of years ago about how their policies were questionable and could put users at risk because they didn't necessarily gave 90 days to the publishers of the software to fix the problem, but if it was something big, 90 days may not be enough time. After we talked about it, they fixed that, and they have become one of the bigger software security agencies out there, working with publishers to identify and fix security problems. This week, they disclosed a bug in iOS, which had been around for a while, been around since iOS 10. There were some websites out there that were exploiting the bug. Suffice it to say that the bug is technical, incredibly technical, but the gist is that a website properly taking advantage of the bug can steal files off of an iPhone that has visited those sites. All of the sites that were discovered were actually aimed at a particular group within the Muslim community. And Google found them, reported everything to Apple. In February of this year, Apple released a patch for the issue. Enough devices have updated past the patch that it was now safe to release information on what was up, and so they did. And interestingly, Apple responded, basically saying, "Nah, that's not really what happened," which isn't good for anybody. They took issue with Google saying that the websites had been around for 2 years, which Google didn't say. They said that the exploit had been around for 2 years, and that the websites had only been around for a few months. And I don't know about you, Avram, but for me, if the bug was real and Apple has a documentation on the hotfix from February detailing the issue, for Apple to come out and say, "Nah, that's not really what happened," it just undermines the value of the work that Google Project Zero is doing. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Listen, of course Apple's going to downplay it because because it makes them look bad. So, who's got something to gain here? I mean, granted, you could say that Google wants to make Apple look bad, but I don't think that's the goal of Project Zero.
No,
so instead of trying to
no,
blame
because
the messenger,
they release stuff on themselves too. Project Zero is not external exclusive. They release exploit details on Google products.
Right, exactly. So, it's pretty clear that Apple is just trying to spin the situation.
Despite the fact that they released information about it themselves. They have a knowledge base article on this issue.
They want to make it look less bad than it is. That's their goal as a company. Think about the same thing could be said for Intel with Spectre Meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
the more you want to downplay it because it's bad publicity is bad for the bottom line. So of course they're going to do that. Of course Apple's going to do that. But I don't think the public should look at what Apple's interests are here. Their interest is in downplaying it. I mean, now even though those websites didn't exist for 2 years, are we reasonably certain that nobody else has exploited that exploit in the 2 years that it's been there?
Right.
How do we know?
We don't. The fact that Google found these could simply be by accident. I mean, if anybody can find it, it's going to be Google, considering they're the ones that index the web. But yeah, things like that slip by all the time, you know? And the fact that this thing's been around since iOS 10 is, you know, the things like that, 0 days like that don't exist too terribly long before an exploit happens. For all we know, when the FBI stopped fighting with Apple to share information from San Bernardino, for all we know, this is why they gave up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? It's certainly not it's certainly in Apple's best interest to spin it, but as the public should know. Now, to be fair, Apple's not alone. This happens all the time that you discover. I mean, haven't there been vulnerabilities discovered for like old versions of Windows that have been out for years?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Spectre and Meltdown go back many years.
Yeah, for sure. The original topic that brought the concern of Project Zero to light and their policies was on a very long-running Windows 0 day. That the complaint was that Project Zero didn't give Microsoft enough time to fix something that was so core before releasing information, which put users at risk. But in, you know, so yeah, it's been everywhere. They've exposed all kinds of stuff. One of my concerns is in a potential, because Apple tries to save face, not always with their customers, but oftentimes with government bodies around the world with whom they're trying to curry favor. And this particular Muslim community is kind of hated by the Chinese government. And we know that Apple is looking to China to try and save their sales numbers. So part of it might involve that. You know, the weird pushback, because like they were arguing facts that weren't in evidence. It was very strange. Like the way they're like this, the websites haven't been around for 2 years, and Google's like, yeah, we didn't say they were. What?
Yeah, but this listen, if we were to go back to, did you ever have to take a debate class in school?
Yeah.
If you go back to the things that we learned in debate class about what is an acceptable argument versus a fallacy or a non sequitur, unfortunately, in the public square, there's a lot of fallacies being thrown around
because
all
they
the
work.
time. You know, because they work. Oh, you know, you did it also. That's the tu quoque fallacy.
Right.
Or attacking the messenger. Oh, well, maybe it's Google's fault. Maybe Google is acting out of self-interest. Like, if you really want to argue against something, you have to bring evidence.
Right.
You can't you can't distract. But unfortunately, that's a very effective tactic, and we see it all the time in all aspects of public life.
Yeah, the idea of, hey, look over there. Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. And it's always a shame when something like that happens, because this was something that happened. It was a potential problem, especially the people in this particular Muslim group definitely need to be aware of it. If it's their websites that were most known to be compromised, hiding that kind of information always ends up on the wrong side, I think. So I guess the takeaway here is it happened, the exploit was real, you probably were not part of it unless... I don't know how to pronounce this group name, which is the reason why I haven't said it.
Uyghur. I think it's pronounced Uyghur.
Thank you. I would never have gotten that. If you're part of that group, maybe take a look at I don't know, your phone. Make sure you're updated, I guess, is the main takeaway. Make sure you're on the most recent version of whatever your operating system is. There we go.
I think that should be said to everybody.
I would say that's our takeaway, is everybody should make sure that your operating system's up to date. Because when these things are found, they're fixed.
Exploiting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, there we go. There's our takeaway. Update your devices. This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. We have talked many times, including just a moment ago, about security online, and one of the best ways to keep your privacy and your security online is with a VPN service. And PureVPN gives you the ability to both obfuscate your browsing history, both from Google, Facebook, and your ISP, but it also gives you the ability to report that you're elsewhere. So if you're out of the country and would like to still sign into your Hulu account and use it, you can. And right now, for our viewers, they're giving a really great deal. It is $2.88 a month instead of $10.95 a month when you sign up for 2 years. And all of that is available by going to piltchpoint.live/purevpn. All right. So, Avram has got a thing next to him. Yes. We always like Avram show and tells.
So, we're going to do this together in real time because I have not taken this out of the box. I just opened the box before we started, so I didn't have to spend time monkeying with the with the tabs on the box or tape or whatever. So this here is called the Ultimate Hacking Keyboard. Now, why is it called the Ultimate Hacking Keyboard? Not that it's great for being a hacker or something. It's not the choice necessarily of Hugh Jackman from Swordfish, but it's it has open source for the software, and you can do a lot of things to it. So let's open this up. You'll notice on the box it is a split keyboard. So the folks that make this sent me one. It is not coming out until October, so I have it early. So let's take the plastic off here. Thank you. Okay. So here's mine. Now you can buy this with a variety of different options. They asked me what color I wanted it. You have a choice of black, white, I think yellow, blue, or red, and I chose the dark blue. Maybe I should have gone with a brighter color. Whenever companies offer to send me something and there's a choice of get it in a color or get it black or white or silver, I always go with the color because everything is black, or white or silver. So it's like in the photos, it gets annoying. It gets boring to look at pictures of that all the time. So, especially if you were browsing through reviews on our site. So, over here you can see the back of this. And I want to see if I can actually it's nicely attached, but it's actually not supposed to be attached. I think you're supposed to be able to detach. You're supposed to be detaching these. Although I guess you could use it like this, so that would be interesting, right? Um, let's see. So what do I need to do to pull this apart? Don't know. It feels really well to get stuck together. Oh wait. It's
Oh,
coming. It's
there it
coming.
goes.
Ah, okay. So let me tell you a few things about this. First of all, you get a choice of switch types. So I chose cherry green switches. For those who don't know the difference, blue and green are clicky. Green is a little bit has a little bit more resistance than blue, and I actually haven't tried cherry green before. I've tried razor green ones, and so I was curious to try that. I love clicky. It also and as we said, it's available in a few different colors. Um, and one of the more interesting things about it is the accessories you can get. So when you hold it, you'll use a wire to connect these two pieces together, and what you can do is you see these little pins here, and it allows you can buy modules that attach to it. So when it's sort of split like this or like this, I guess, on your desk, you could buy a little trackball and put it over here. Or a little, they have a trackball, they have a set of 3 keys, they have a touchpad, and they have my personal favorite, even though I haven't tried it yet on this, a track point, like a ThinkPad style track point. It looks actually exactly like a ThinkPad one. It's red. So uh, they're not even trying to pretend that it's like a generic pointing stick.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that violates some copyright or what. But they haven't come out with them. They haven't. The modules aren't ready yet, so they didn't send me those. They sent me this, and there's software that lets you really configure it. I'm not really sure yet what you do with the screen, um, but it's very interesting thing. You also can get it with different types of keys. So I chose sort of the normal American layout, but you can get it with the European layout, and you have a choice of a couple of different fonts on the keys. I just chose the most generic ones. Uh, maybe it would have been more interesting if I didn't. So also over here, let's see what else is in the box first of all. So also in the box, we have this telephone-like cable. This is used to link the two sides together, as you can see in the picture. You have these things here, which are feet, which I guess aren't on it by default, but you can put them on. USB cable. Well, you always need that with a keyboard, right?
Sure.
Unless it's wireless. I don't even know what this is. Oh, a bunch of little tiny screws. I'm not really sure what you're supposed to do with that. Oh, maybe that's for attaching the feet.
Oh, that could be.
So one other thing that they sent me is the palm rest. Ta-da. So the palm rest is, I think, wood. Let's see if it's real wood. And if you get the black one, I don't know if it'll look so much this way with blue, but if you get the black one, it sure looks like an old Atari. When you do that, somebody in my office said it looks like you have an Atari. Let's see.
Especially in the photo there, it definitely reminds me a lot of the box that my Atari 2600's in, right down to the color palette. Ooh.
Although this is a dark, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know
it
if
is.
it's like it, but it's a darker wood than the picture.
Yeah, it is.
So looks good. I think this is real wood. I can't tell 100% for sure. I don't know if it certainly has it's very smooth. There's no rough edges to it.
That's important.
Well, yeah, you certainly want to get a splinter, right? Interesting. I'm gonna have to give this a try. I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about this part here, the wood palm rest, because I like really soft wrist rest, and this is not soft, but you can see this is hard metal here.
Yeah.
That I guess you're supposed to screw it. I guess that's what these screw holes are on the back here. You screw it in, and then you have one for each side when it's
Sure.
split. So
Interesting.
I'll be curious to try it. It's definitely very interesting. All the software for it is open source, so you can actually make your own software for it. But it sounds like the software is very robust. Because the hacking part is you changing stuff about it. Now, one thing that's not really hackable about it is I don't think you can remove the switches on your own. So, I mean, I don't think it's meant to have swappable switches. I've seen some keyboards that do, um, which would be kind of cool. But considering the keyboard itself comes apart, I really like the idea that I could have a track point in this because I love having it on my laptop, and I kind of like to have it on my keyboard, on my desktop keyboard. Um, what and this is But there are a couple of things that are of some concern here, depending on how you like your layout. There's no arrow keys, right?
Oh.
Um, right. I think there are arrow keys here that you can get by hitting function, like you see IJKL if you have a little arrow below them.
Okay.
But there's no native arrow keys on this. Now, some people in the mechanical keyboard fandom, who this is clearly designed for. By the way, this is an expensive keyboard. The keyboard alone, without the palm rest, is $275.
Okay.
The modules are going to be, I think, $60, and the palm rest is. I'm looking at it by default. It comes from Europe, so palm rest is $75. The keyboard is $275, and the modules are all $60 each. So let's say you wanted to get this with a track point and the palm rest, which they kind of want you to have. And to be honest, you kind of need a palm because your standard wrist rests probably aren't made for this because they're straight, right? I mean, I love having my gel rest. Love it, love it. Here's my giant gel rest that I always use, right? Uh, Obviously not made for a split keyboard. So, but I know there are a lot of folks in the mechanical keyboard, fan community who like having fewer keys. They don't want to have arrow keys. They don't want to have numeric keypad. There are even some keyboards, I think 40% keyboard or something that have don't even have a number row. Oh, you know what this also doesn't have? Function row. No function row either.
Yeah, I see that.
If you want the function row, you have to hit the FN key in the top row.
Okay.
Obviously, for the folks who like that kind of thing, this is good. I'm gonna come out and say I'm gonna judge this keyboard on its merits and what it's trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So it's trying to accomplish being really compact. But for me, I don't know. I'll see if I can get used to that, but I like having more buttons, not less. So I don't like having a 10 keyless keyboard, which is, for those not in the know, is a keyboard without the number pad. And if I had my druthers, I would have more extra buttons. If I could get another function row up there to get like 24 function keys, some more on the side. Like if I could get an old fashioned like terminal keyboard or one of those stock trader keyboards, which I've seen some on eBay, and get it with
Like
modern amenities
like those crazy Bloomberg terminal keyboards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I saw. I'm a follower of our mechanical keyboards on Reddit, and somebody put up a picture of. I think it was a Bloomberg keyboard. If not, it was another trading place, and yeah, it had a ridiculous amount of keys on it and a little screen. But it didn't necessarily have the mechanical switches that I would want. No cool RGBs, but and I have to get a used one that someone else's mitts have been all over. But it's
Yeah, because you probably don't want to
Man,
spend
I
the
just feel like
$45,000 on the Bloomberg terminal just to get the keyboard.
I don't even know if they still make the keyboard,
Maybe not.
right? Uh, they're on eBay for like $100. You can get, I think it's called like a 110% keyboard or something.
Okay. Interesting.
If you Google it on eBay, they're called. No, it's not even easy to find. Um, anyway, needless to say, this is the ultimate hacking keyboard here. And what's ultimate about it is that you can do all kinds of things to the software, and you can add modules, and you can use it like this, or you can pull it apart. Right? You could use it like this. Interesting that it has like two different space buttons because it's meant to be pulled apart.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure what the screen gives you. So that's something when I review this, which I will do in the near future. I'll find out. But I just want to share that with everyone. It's definitely a very interesting keyboard. And listen, I'm not against somebody spending, $350, $400 on a keyboard, because if you're really happy with it and you're using it every day,
Yeah.
then the keyboard is going to make more of a difference in your computer life than almost anything else. Your
Agreed.
keyboard, your monitor, your mouse are the things that you look at and touch every day, every way. So I could upgrade my computer from a 512 gigabyte SSD to a 1 terabyte SSD, but will I notice the difference all the time, every day, right away?
Every moment
Maybe
of
not
every day.
until I really use up that space, right? But the things that you touch, and you keep it for years.
Mm-hmm.
I had IBM keyboards that I kept for 5-10 years.
Several generations
easily.
of computer.
Now, I want to say you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a good keyboard, because here I have the $70 Hex Gears Impulse, which has been my favorite keyboard now since I first tried it a few months ago, and it is absolutely a joy to type on, because it uses Kale white switches, which are the best switches that I've used. They are absolutely awesome. They are clicky, but they have a better feel and click than standard blue switches. They have a little bit less travel, but not a lot less travel, so you can type faster. I absolutely love, and there are not many keyboards that are available with Kale white switches, but the Hex Gears Impulse, which is, depending on whether you get the model with the RGB keys or not, I think $70 or $80 on Amazon, is my favorite right now, because it is absolutely just an absolute pleasure to type on. And if that's what matters, it doesn't have any software. So if that's what matters to you the most, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get a keyboard with a great key feel. But something like that ultimate hackable hacking keyboard, gives you the opportunity to do all kinds of interesting stuff with it. I'm going to be really excited when they send me those modules to see what it's like having that track point in the middle of my keyboard. Anyway, that's just a quick look at it. We'll be putting up a review in the near future on Tom's Hardware. We'll see if we're getting the modules sooner than later. We might wait till we get the module. Makes sense. And if someone's interested in buying it now, although I don't think they're shipping it till October, you can go to ultimatehackingkeyboard.com.
Very cool. Well, it's definitely interesting looking. When it's all together like that, it's way smaller than I was expecting. But when you pull it apart into two pieces and add something in the middle and stuff like that, I can see, it gets kind of back to a normal size thing. But it looks like the keys are normal. It's just because it's missing all the extra keys on the outsides. It just makes the whole keyboard look almost like a kid's toy. I'm used to my big gaming keyboard that's got, two two columns of keys on the left and media controls all across the top and a screen and a
right. That's I don't think I don't get why somebody would want fewer keys on their keyboard unless they were traveling and they needed to fit in the bag.
Right.
So that I kind of get, but for your everyday desk, I like more. But
I'm not taking a $300 modular keyboard in my laptop bag.
Yeah, I mean, maybe somebody is.
Maybe.
I mean, it certainly fits it's certainly very small,
Yeah.
right? So
It'll be interesting to see what
we'll see. I'm excited.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what your final take is on it.
I'm excited to try typing on it and using it. I do foresee the lack of a function row and the lack of dedicated arrow keys and function row being a potential problem for me. But it really, for some folks, obviously a target. It may not be, and maybe it's worth it for the other advantages. I haven't really used split keyboards very, very often, so it's not for an extended period of time.
Sure.
So I'm kind of curious to see what that's like.
Whenever I think of split keyboards, I always think of Donna on Parks and Rec with the keyboard with the keys on either side. And she's like, I can't fly a spaceship. This keyboard's not going to work.
Oh, man. They have some ergonomic ones, right, that you just have it.
Yeah. That was what Donna ended up with. She's like, I feel like I'm flying a spaceship. I can't fly a spaceship. This isn't going to work for me.
I'm putting a message out to... I'm putting a keyboard message out to our audience. I personally would love to find a keyboard that had a ridiculous amount of keys, which seems to be the opposite of the trend. So I'm curious what people have seen out there. And B, I would love to find, speaking of something that's weird, something a good sort of mobile keyboard for working on the go. I used to know a guy who was kind of had a wearable headset that he wore all the time, and he had invented what he called a keyer, which was something that had like 10 or 15 keys, and he could hold it in his hand and therefore through combinations get all the letters and all the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious if anything like that exists commercially, because I've looked and I've never seen it.
It's called DecaText. I'll send you a link after the show.
Can you get a Bluetooth thing that does that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
The inventor's name is Wayne something. Wayne, I can't think of his last name, but DecaText.
Oh, cool. See, question answered. Anyway,
I have tried so hard to learn to use that thing. I've known Wayne for years. I have held that thing in my hand. He's been on the show before. I cannot type on it.
I mean, I probably would give up, but I'd love to try that. I love the challenge.
Well, I'll get you a link after the show. But yeah, DecaText.
Yeah.
Anyway,
cool.
Obviously, everybody, Avram and I are keyboard people. I think both of us have way more keyboards than our number of hands would ever need.
Yeah.
And so it's always fun to talk keyboards because like you said, it's the thing that you use. Like it is your primary interaction device with a computer. So it's the thing that really needs
It matters almost the most to me of anything on my computer. That's why when I buy a laptop, it matters the most to me. Gotta have my keyboard.
Yeah, makes sense. And I definitely look forward to hearing your final take on this after you've messed around with it, because clearly, for those of you who are watching, we just opened the box, so we have
no
information on it, but
live unboxing.
but Avram will have a review at some point on Tom's Hardware. So I look forward to seeing what that looks like.
Cool.
And as always, Avram, I always love talking new stuff, especially when that new stuff is keyboards. So, and I look forward to whatever we talk about next time. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and console are available from Razer, whether you're looking for that great gaming keyboard that we were just talking about with a Razer Green Switch, or you're looking for a great mouse, the two most important parts of interacting with a computer, or you need a whole system like the Razer Blade Stealth and a whole lot more, and all of that is available by going to f5live.tv/Razer. We have talked a couple of times about the offering that is Switch Online from Nintendo. When they launched the service, they did what Microsoft and Sony do as well. They offer free games as part of the subscription. Nintendo, knowing very well who they are, decided to offer truly classic games out of their back catalog, stuff coming from the original Nintendo Entertainment System. A while back, we talked that Nintendo was planning on bringing some Super Nintendo titles to the Switch Online service, and then we heard nothing else about it until the Nintendo Direct this week, where they announced that 20 Super NES titles were coming to Switch Online, and that they were coming like tomorrow, based on when the Nintendo Direct happened, and that's what happened. They launched almost immediately, within just a couple of days. And so now big SNES titles like Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island are now available as part of your Switch subscription, your Switch Online subscription, which, by the way, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, Twitch Prime is still offering a free year of Switch Online, so definitely check that out. We have a link, f5live.tv/prime. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I love the idea that they're expanding outside of the NES titles, because, not gonna lie, Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island are two of my favorite Nintendo games ever. And so for me, SNES games are a big deal on the console. They're, like we talked about, not last week because we weren't on, 2 weeks ago, we talked about how, classic games are so easy to have fun with, right? And so here's another example of really leaning into that.
My son really loves old time games, old arcade games, old console games. There's something about them that's timeless. He really likes them. I think the thing is, when you take a game that was really meant to be a certain type of game, like a side scroller or an arcade game, that's timeless. When you get something that was sort of meant to be technically ambitious for its time, and now it looks bad, then that's a problem. Which I know some will disagree, but I know, like, one of the big titles that people talk about in the emulation community is, can we play GoldenEye? Which was what, on the Nintendo 64?
64, yeah.
Right?
It was the title on the Nintendo 64.
And
probably the only time a Nintendo console has been defined by not a Nintendo title.
Right. So, looking at that game, it doesn't look good to me. Yeah. But I guess back in the day, it looked good because they weren't. It's sort of an FPS style game, and they didn't have a lot of FPS style games at the time, so it looked like something at the time, but it just hasn't aged well.
Yeah.
Whereas, you take a timeless game like Pac-Man,
Right.
it doesn't matter. It's still a fun game.
Because the sprite was still only 16 by 16, and they weren't trying to do a whole
Right.
lot with it. That wasn't the goal.
Right. See, it operated within its limits, and so, the things that are known to sort of push the envelope in terms of photorealism look really bad
Yeah.
years later, but the things that were just trying to stay within the box of this is a video game are more, I think, are more timeless, and so
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, like, if you look at the Nintendo 64, if you look at Super Mario 64 versus GoldenEye, Mario 64 wasn't trying to. I mean, it was a first-person title, and even they weren't trying to push a whole lot of boundaries. I mean, yes, it was Mario in 3D space, but still, it still had a very Nintendo restrained feel to it, and they put all their effort into making it a fun game versus putting all their effort into making it a lookable game, and the fun wasn't so much there. Interestingly, GoldenEye is one of the few games I think that tried to do both, which might be why it's still looked at from the emulation community today, because it was a fun game and they were trying to push graphics boundaries. But yeah, even today, the fun game aspect of it, how is it different than any other FPS? Yeah, the maps were pretty good, but I mean, it's still a multiplayer FPS. Split screen on one console. Okay. You can't really do that anymore. Four corners split screen. That doesn't really so much exist. But yeah, I can see where some of the emulation interest might come from, but I'm with you. That one's not one that I would put a whole lot of my focus into. But some of the SNES titles, especially the first party stuff, the Yoshi's Island and Zelda and stuff like that coming off the SNES, that's something that I'd put some effort into.
Yeah, exactly. Like, those games are timeless, and there really aren't a lot of. I mean, how else will you get those games? I guess you could get. What can you get? Like, do you get those games if you get like the Famicom or something like that?
Well, you can get them on the some of these games on the Super NES Mini device that came out.
Right.
But this is definitely the easiest and most direct. You don't have to have special hardware for it. You don't have to have anything unique or weird. It's a switch and go. And interestingly, in the same way that hello to the YouTube chat room. Deepak something. It's very small and on the other side of the room. I apologize. So just like when Nintendo launched the NES titles on the Switch, they have also launched a companion hardware piece, an SNES USB-C controller. So you can play the games with the controller they were designed for. So you can get an NES USB-C controller, you can get an SNES USB-C controller. They are not yet available, but they will be shortly, and they will be only available to Switch Online subscribers, which is important. You have to be a Switch Online subscriber to be able to buy them. The other thing that's important to know here is that unlike the NES titles, the SNES stuff, at least for right now, will be erratic. in their release. We got a nice big game dump right now of 20 titles, but do not expect it to be like the NES where new stuff will show up every month. Nintendo has said that the release will be erratic for the SNES titles, at least for now, simply because I think they tried to launch with a big catalog, and everything that was even close to being ready to release was released all at once. So enjoy what you have now, because it might be a little while before you get any more. This week's news from the tubes and F5 Live is proudly powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like... okay, we'll go with Street Fighter. That works out well. We're talking about SNES. Alright. The way it works is for a couple of dollars, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever the movie happens to exist, and laugh. From time to time, they do some live events. The 2019 lineup is complete, but you can see on the service some of the previous versions, which is wonderful. And through Amazon Prime, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you can watch some of the live ones as well. And to find out all the movies that are available, both feature film and shorts, you can go to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. See, the Million Eyes of... What was that called? I don't know. Million Eyes of Sumeru or something. That would have been a better one to have started with, but it's not what they showed me. Anyway, another week, another Facebook problem. So, I think we all at this point are aware of the details of the Cambridge Analytica issue. If you're not, the basics are there was data that was available via API if a user gave an app permission to access it, and in this case, the apps were storing the information off-site, which is against Facebook's terms of service, but that won't stop anybody. And with that, Cambridge Analytica purchased a whole bunch of information and did targeted advertising based on it in questionable ways. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how Instagram had a semi-public API that wasn't really an API so much as a way for them to show data based on location images based on location. A company was taking advantage of that to geotag users and, again, do very targeted marketing, despite the fact that it was against Instagram's terms of service. This week, we have discovered that there is a pair of databases out in the wild containing user phone numbers and more. It's guaranteed to have phone numbers, but it could also have usernames, full names, genders, and countries. And both of these databases were generated, you guessed it, by accessing API data and storing it offsite, despite Facebook's terms of service. Here's the thing. You absolutely, and it doesn't matter if we're talking to government or a corporation, you cannot legislate morality. If something is possible to be done, it will be done if somebody wants to. In this case, if you make data available, people will use it for their own reasons. Whether or not you tell them, don't store this off-site, they're going to. And there's nothing you can do about it except not make the data available. And so the fact that this came from an API that didn't really exist, just like the geolocation stuff, is even more frustrating This was for a feature where basically you could put your contact list in, and it would show you all your friends. Then that feature is gone.
So how did third parties get it though? Because wouldn't you have to go and do that on the site for a whole bunch of different phone numbers or a whole bunch of different friends?
You absolutely would. And so, I guess here's a hacking 101 class. So the API asks for basically a contact list, say off of an iPhone. Well, the iPhone has, I think it's an ICA file. I don't know. On Windows, it's a vCard, which is the best name ever. Anyway, so it's a list of contacts. It gets uploaded to the server. The server returns results with a score of how accurate the result set might be, and then usernames and phone numbers and information and stuff. So you go create a fake contact list with as many contacts as Facebook will allow you to upload in a single batch. You upload it. It returns values with names and phone numbers. You store them. You upload a second batch.
But you just get random people?
Yeah. If you're trying to do telemarketing, you don't care who the people are.
Yeah. So in other words, if only Facebook had implemented the click "I am not a robot" button, this all would have been solved.
Or if there had been some sort of a request the server to give me a short-term access token. If it was like a multi-part thing, there's definitely ways to have prevented it. Not to have eliminated the possibility, because multi-step things just take longer to do. But any data that's available can be farmed. That's really what it comes down to. Any data, and even if it's scraped, like what the Instagram company was doing, the data was just being scraped. If data is available, it's available. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. And to be honest, I feel like if a human is capable of doing something, and you have a computer do it a million times, then I don't see what the problem is, because if the data was good enough for one person to get by doing one thing, if that person were able to had unlimited time and patience to go and do it, but instead you develop a computer to do it,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what computers are for. Now, Facebook shouldn't have put that out there, because even if it was one stranger's phone number that you were getting, they shouldn't have had that. Period.
Sure, absolutely. Here's the thing: the result set shouldn't have had phone numbers in it.
Right.
It didn't make the add a friend capability better, and in fact, I used that thing as a test a number of years ago. It didn't show the phone number. So why that was part of the data set? Anybody's guess. Probably.
Yeah, that's a big screw up.
Yeah. Probably sheer laziness on the programmer's case, where they just did a select all from instead of a select certain columns from on the database table. And here we are. We end up with a full set, which is idiotic. And now all that information is out in the wild. And if you're curious about how big the database was, 419 million users. That is not phone numbers, that's users, because you might have more than one phone number attached to your account. So 419 million users. Cambridge Analytica, which ended Facebook both CEO and COO. Is that what Cheryl's title is? It ended both of them in front of Congress, and they had 85 million users. And this is 419. This is a 400% increase, 5x. So pretty big deal, I guess. I guess the the end result of this is if you're tired of those "we've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty" phone calls, they're not going anywhere. Because a whole bunch of new telemarketers just got that list. So,
Well, the nice thing is that your phone sometimes now says "scam likely."
oh, Truecaller, best thing ever.
The biggest problem though now, I mean, you're talking about like whether phone calling is a thing anymore, right? Like,
yeah.
if I get a phone call, it's either a scam or there's a decent chance that it will be a really urgent thing. So the problem is, if I don't recognize a number, I very often answer it because I'm like, okay, maybe this is an urgent thing from somebody that I don't, could it be my bank calling that somebody has stolen, my account? Could it be,
Somebody,
could it be someone at my son's school whose number I don't have? So like, I don't know. So unless I am convinced that it's a scam,
right.
I am tempted to answer because I assume, okay, I don't just get calls all the time.
Right.
Because of the nature of, like, I don't know. I feel like with smartphones, with all the other communication mediums that we have, like text messages and instant message, people don't make phone calls as much as they used to.
Very true. I agree. Yeah. And, I was getting on one of my lines, I was getting a lot of calls from Albania. Obviously, that one's a scam. Like,
right.
there's no need to answer calls from coming from Albania.
A legit call from Albania.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, if it's coming from one, especially from one of my local area codes, of course I'm going to assume something's wrong and I'm going to answer it, and they know that. So this sucks because it probably means we're going to get a little more of it for a while, but it is what it is. Obviously, at some point, Facebook's going to have to grow up because they're still acting like kids, just not thinking about their behavior. And at some point, they're going to have to grow up, I think. And we'll see if one of these things is the thing that finally pushes it. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You get free shipping sometimes 2-day, 1-day, same day. But there's a whole lot more to your subscription that not everybody is using, and they should be. Amazon Prime Music gives you several million tracks available to stream for free. As part of your subscription, Amazon Prime Video gives you TV, movies, documentaries, both original and licensed content, including HBO back catalog and all kinds of stuff. And then there's my favorite, Twitch Prime, which we mentioned earlier. You get a free subscription to a channel on Twitch, so you can help support the content creator of your choice. You can also get free games every month, which is a wonderful part of your subscription. And if you're a Switch owner, you can get up to a full year of Switch Online for free. To make things easy, we've got a page with easy links to all of the features that we love. And we've also got a 30-day free trial for you if you're not already a subscriber, so you can find out if you like it and if it's for you. And all of that is available by going to f5live.tv/prime. Over the last, let's say, year, it's been a little longer, we've talked a number of times about child safety and child privacy online, and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, better known as COPPA, and the numerous companies that have been investigated for potentially violating COPPA. a little over a year ago, a collection of 20 privacy groups came together and filed a complaint with the FTC about YouTube. And that started a wider investigation. Until now, probably the most notable finding was against TikTok, that when it was Musical.ly used to require that users enter their full real name to sign up, and they were fully aware that children were using the platform, and so that was a violation of federal law. But this week, YouTube had a settlement with the FTC and the state of New York, and this one came in at $170 million for violating COPPA. Basically the same general set of violations that users were signing up, and Google knew that there was no chance that that children were not signing up, that the platform was easily showing content that was not child-friendly to children and collecting information about them, both for advertising and video recommendation purposes. Google has agreed to the $170 million, 34 of which will go to the state of New York. The rest will go to the Federal Trade Commission, and they have agreed to not use any of the data that was collected previously, and to make all content going forward opt-in as child-friendly. So creators will have to specifically go in and mark something as child-friendly, or it will not show up in YouTube Kids, which has been a huge problem. Just because a cartoon character appears in a video does not mean that it's child-friendly, as YouTube learned the hard way. So this is a very interesting development. The fact that the FTC actually went after, Google, which is one of the big three, right? To go after them in this manner definitely means that they're serious about keeping an eye out for COPPA. So I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a serious concern. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Kids of all ages watch YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
You can't, I mean, yes, they could argue that you have to be 13 to use the service, but COPPA's created a very interesting world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
I remember working on the internet before COPPA, and when COPPA came into being, which, when was it, like 99 or
Yes.
2000 or something?
99.
It's a long time ago. I was working at About.com before COPPA, and then when COPPA came, and there was just a lot of fear about, okay, we have people who are registering for forums and chat rooms and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And we, before we didn't have to care. Now we have to specifically find out whether they're 13 or not, or I guess really they have no way of really finding it. But the problem is it's also self-reported, right?
Right.
I mean, there are so many, and as a parent, it becomes a weird situation too, because there's so many things that I have to sign up for, that I have to register for on behalf of my son.
Yeah.
And if I put that I was under 13 or something, it probably wouldn't let me. So he'll get an app, for example, that is for like controlling a robot or
Mm-hmm.
something,
Yeah.
or is for like an AR game or something like that. And it asks you like, what year were you born? And if I put, 2012 when he was born, it's probably going to give me a hassle and either say I can't do it, or I have to send some permission letter, that's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I sign up an account for him, I tell him I'm 20 years old or something. So, because otherwise,
Yeah.
so it is a little bit of a weird situation that they've created, because I think it's more of a CYA move,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these things with COPPA, because you can't really, you can't really tell how old somebody is when they're using the internet.
Right.
Someone could be 100 years old or they could be 5 years old. So, I think it's wise to assume that there could be children viewing something like YouTube. It's not behind a paywall or something like that. It is a difficult. I'm glad that they're making people self-report that something is safe for kids. Although I'd like to see some more like teeth behind that than just self-reporting.
Yeah,
because
if you cut down the number of things that are being requested to be available on YouTube Kids, perhaps now they have the ability to put power behind it, to put AI on the videos or something to start looking for inappropriateness. We know that they're auto transcribing stuff, so that's definitely a good starting point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely, like, I really have to actually take a good look at YouTube Kids, because lately my son has been, not just lately, but for a while, but now he's getting to a point where he's got devices where we're not always seeing exactly what he is looking at.
Sure.
And he just loves to watch like Minecraft videos of people playing Minecraft in various ways. And I just keep thinking like, yeah, and he's gonna, we try to say like, hey, we've got to sit here and watch this with you or whatever. But I'm always kind of worried that he's going to end up watching some kind of video that's going to end up not really being what, what we thought it was, and is going to have adult content in it.
Yeah. Like the not quite Disney videos that were showing up in YouTube Kids a number of months ago that we were talking about. And, YouTube started putting some weight behind it then, and now, the forced opt-in, I think it's all going to make it at least a little better. Self-reporting is never great, but the fact that it is by default off is probably a good starting point. And then maybe they can start, at the very least, scanning the transcripts to start with, to look for certain words or phrases that would deem it. They're able to determine what is and is not monetized, so it seems like this would fall into the same category. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Obviously, it is going into effect. It's software, so it has to be created, so it won't be tomorrow, but they've got a pretty short time window in which they have to get this on the road. So we will see this out in the wild, I would imagine, in pretty short order. And that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. We always appreciate our live viewers. If you want to join us live in the future, Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, f5live.tv/join us. And if you have joined us live and would like to subscribe to this and our other shows, or you just want to subscribe to our other shows, PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe will show all of them. F5 Live, The Piltch Point, PLUGHITZ Live Presents, First Looks, PLUGHITZ Live Unboxed, which will not include Avram's unboxing here, but the ones for the products that we have here in the studio and a whole bunch more are all available there. A reminder that we talked about at the top, I'll remind you again, in just over a month, Roboticon 2019 will be here in Tampa at the Yingling Center at University of South Florida. Definitely looking forward to that. And then that's October, so November will be Anime EY in Fort Lauderdale with the 3000 Brigade, which means more 3000 Brigade Presents. And so, yeah, lots of new content coming, so check it all out. And with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we'll see you guys back next time. Ciao.